This new BMW 1 Series costs a staggering £42,000. Now for that kind of money, if I was willing to buy a used car, I could have a whole host of far more exciting BMWs. Like this M340i, this 7 Series, and this rather lovely M4 CS. But how do these used BMWs compare to a brand new 1 Series? Well, in this video, I'm going to find out. I'll also compare the running costs of each of the cars and see how much they'll actually cost you in terms of depreciation when you come to sell them on. I'm Matt Watson, and you're watching Car Wow. Let's start off with the new car, the 1 Series. So this is BMW's smallest and most affordable car. Well, affordable's relative these days. This particular model is the 120 M Sport. The reason this car is so much is due to the options. So actually the starting price of the 120 M Sport is £32,000. But this particular car is adorned with almost £10,000 worth of options. They include a tech pack for like £2,700, which has stuff like a heads-up display, has wireless charging for your mobile phone, should be standard, and BMW's clever parking system, actually really good. It's also got other options on it as well, such as the sunroof, that's £1,000, the electrically operated boot lid, £400, and then there's an M Sport Plus styling pack, which includes like the rear spoiler, red brake calipers, and the rather lovely M Tricolor thingy there. 10 grand on options is mad, but those options do make this car feel like a much more expensive car than you'd expect from a 1 Series. Inside, this car feels very posh, so the material quality, I think it's best in class, and doesn't feel lacking compared to BMW's more expensive larger vehicles. And I love these seats you get with the M Sport package. Oh, they're lovely. So all M Sport cars have these great body hugging seats. However, you can tell this is the cheapest car in the range when you dig a little bit deeper. So plastics down there are the worst on any BMW new car, and this is horrendous. Listen to this. These stalks just feel cheap as, like some kind of budget car. Definitely not something that costs £42,000. With options, obviously, got to be fair. Also, while this 1 Series has all the very latest tech from BMW, the same stuff that you get on its most expensive cars, it also has a problem in the fact that BMW has just put most of the functions through the screens, and it's just harder to use. So if I want to change things like the driving mode, I have to press this button here, come on, and then press a button on here, rather than just pressing a button down here. Climate controls are all buried in here as well. Come on, where are you? Yeah, they're all in here. Oh, it's a bit of a faff. And unlike with other BMWs, there's no iDrive controller, so you definitely have to use the touchscreen, whether you like it or not. But being a new car, there are some benefits. You see, no other human has been in this apart from the people that built it. You see, no one sneezed in it, no one's coughed in it, no one's skin cells other than mine will have shed off into the car's carpet.
What about the French fry packet in the back, Matt?
That's Grace's, it's fine. This is from me and my family. Another thing about buying a new car is that you get to choose the colour, and I would love to choose this purple. I think it looks great, though I might be a bit worried because it could affect it in terms of depreciation. If I was leasing it though, definitely have this colour. BMW has been criticised lately for its kind of crazy ugly designs, but I think this one looks good. It's a touch fish-like, but it looks like a shark, which is a cool fish. I like this venti bit, these indentations. Remind me of the M3 and the M4, but it hasn't got the silly nostril kind of Bugs Bunny tooth grill shenanigans going on. It's quite swoopy as well at the back end for a hatchback, but the question is, does that affect its practicality? Didn't mean to do it that hard. It's lower than you imagine. Oh, I do it every time I get in, and I just wanted to illustrate it, but then I actually whacked it harder because I didn't go down. Anyway, this is quite low, and you can feel that this is BMW's smallest car. So yes, there is a trade-off for that sloping roofline in the fact that you might twat your head when you're getting into it. In terms of headspace once you're in, ow, it is quite tight. Knee room, it's okay. Once again, you can tell it's BMW's smallest car, but adults can fit in the back, and it's reasonably comfortable. But while it's okay for adults back here, is there enough room for everybody's stuff in the boot? So you've got 380 litres. Actually, do you know what? I'm just going to get some money's worth out of my 400 quid optional electrically powered tailgate. So, won't take long. No, that's enough. Just have to do that every time I open the boot. So 380 litres, well it would be if I had the high performance M135 version of this car. But because this is a mild hybrid, this 1.5 litre, this underfloor storage here is limited to this space because I think there's some battery shenanigans going on under there. Yeah, so you only have 300 litres of space. Still okay, look, useful, square shape. But it's not huge, is it? I'll tell you what, I'm trying to see. Right, I'm going to record a piece to camera now, and I just want to turn the aircon down, but I'm having to piss about in this screen. Fan cannot be deactivated in an automatic program. Imagine I'm driving. Auto off. Auto off. No, just be off. Why is it on auto? Off. There we go, finally. Now, if it's your car, you get used to that, so you know what buttons to press, right? But still. Can't I just go off? BMW isn't known as the ultimate practicality machine, is it? It's known as the ultimate driving machine. So let's get on with some driving with this car. This particular model, the 20, is powered by a 1.5 litre engine. Makes no sense, does it, really? But it's a 3-cylinder turbo, puts out 170 horsepower and 280 newton meters of torque, driving the front wheels in this version via 7-speed automatic gearbox. Supposed to do 0 to 60 in 7.8 seconds. Let's find out exactly what it does. Don't think it's got launch control, but let's try it. How do I turn the stability off? My modes. I freaking hate all this. Button press, then on here. Right, turn it. Let's go into driving dynamics. Let's go into Sport Plus. Right, let's see if that'll give us launch control. No launch control. Automatic hold, deactivated, vibrate. Anyway, let's do it. Oh, a little bit of wheel spin. Feels pretty fruity for a 1.5, and the gear changes are sporty, like boom, boom, and the time is good, 7 seconds. You know, 1.5, 3-cylinder, it's probably as quick as you really need. You're going to need the 2 litre. Probably not. I've got to say, for a small car, this thing has a big car feel about it. It's reasonably quiet, you just get a bit of wind flutter from there, but tyre noise isn't too bad. If you're wondering what that beeping sound is, it's the speed limit warning. It thinks I'm supposed to be doing 20 here, but this is a closed road. I can do whatever speed I like. That is one thing with these new cars. The blooming annoying safety systems, which are mandatory now, and a bit of a faff to turn off. All the beeps and the bongs. That's one reason why it might be better going for an older car. Anyhow, it feels planted as well. Part of that is due to the suspension. So it's got a sporty setup. This being the M Sport, has the M Sport suspension on it. It makes the car stay nice and flat for the bends. In fact, it feels like a hot hatch to drive, to tell you the truth, the way it handles. Steering's precise. It's very predictable the way it goes around a corner. It's a lot of fun. The brakes are good. There's enough punch from the engine to pull you out the bends. Obviously, if it's a bit slippery, being front wheel drive, it might struggle for traction when you put your foot down out of a turn. But you could always have the 130i, because that then is 4-wheel drive. But this handles well, it's fun, I like it. There is a trade-off though for this sporty handling, and it is that when you're just like driving around normally, especially in town, the suspension feels a bit overly firm. It's not as comfortable over bumps as say a Volkswagen Golf or an Audi A3. But I think it's a trade I'll be willing to make just for this kind of sporty handling. Drives like you want a BMW to, a small BMW anyway. Quite impressed by this. I've actually finished filming now, but I'm going to continue on this route because it's fun. Tell you what might not be so fun though, the depreciation. It's always bad on a new car. I wonder what it's like on one of these. Well, we'll come to the depreciation on each of the cars we're going to feature in this video at the end, so you'll be able to see exactly how much you're likely to lose if you buy one of them. Oh dear. But before that, let's check out a second-hand BMW saloon that costs a little bit less than a new 1 Series, but has a lot more power. Do you know what? I think I'm about to contradict myself about engine size, because I'm now sat in an M340i from 2020. So this car is retailing for £37,000. It's got 34,000 miles on the clock, but you know, I've got the benefit of a 3-litre straight-six turbocharged engine. I've also got all-wheel drive. It's got an 8-speed automatic gearbox. It's got its engine pointing the right way, which is long ways rather than across like in the 1 Series, and that means that this is 4-wheel drive, but mainly it's rear-wheel drive because of that engine being in that direction. Also means more performance, doesn't it? Shall we find out how much more? I'm gonna launch it. And this car does have launch control, so here we go. You ready? Left foot on the brake, floor of the throttle. Okay, this is a different world. Whoa! 4 seconds! The performance on this is nuts for the money. It's quicker than M cars from the generation before. It's so good. This segment of the review's over. Just get this. This is it. Stop the video. Ends here. This is so good. Actually, might not be. We've got some other interesting cars coming up. But to drive, this is an impressive machine. Right, I've changed the mode that I was in. So I'm still in sports mode, but I've configured the dampers because they're adaptive in this car, and you can choose between like comfort and a sporty setting. So gone for comfort over sporty, but everything else is sporty, and I'm changing gears myself using the paddles, and right away this just feels more composed over the bumps than that 1 Series did. Now that 1 Series doesn't have adaptive dampers, they're passive, whereas these, it's nice just to have that flexibility. See, what's also impressive about this though is that despite the fact it's 4 years old, it still feels like new. And also, oh my gosh, just driving this round this course here, oh, it's on another level. The 1 Series. The 1 Series was fun for a small hatchback, but this feels like a proper car, and I can feel that it's rear drive biased, but with the added benefit and traction from the 4-wheel drive system sending power to the front when we start to lose grip at the rear end. What a machine this is. It feels solid, feels planted, feels fun, it feels so quick and responsive, and the sound of that 6-cylinder engine, really, unless you're leasing a car or you've got to have a new one, I mean, my money, it's here all day, every day. Compared to the 1 Series, it absolutely 100% is. There is one drawback to this engine though, and that's the economy. It's just not going to be as good as that little 1 Series, but who cares? This is the only car you ever really need. Oh, apart from the touring. I get the touring with the added boot space, but that does bring me on to the rest of this car. The thing with buying a used car is that you do have to check over them carefully for any scratches, dents or dings, but this one looks all good. And speaking of all good, it was designed back in the day when BMW hadn't completely lost the plot, so it looks smart. It's nice in this blue actually. Moving down the side, being the M340i, you get things like larger alloy wheels. These are 19s. You get the blue brake calipers. You don't have to pay extra for those like you do for the coloured brake calipers on the 1 Series, because that 1 Series is just an M Sport. So you get in the higher trim level with this particular car, and obviously it's bigger, longer, more executive looking, but it does have some sporty touches such as the bootlit spoiler, once again part of the M340i package. And then there's the fact that this car was built before the emissions regulations got even stricter, so the exhaust sounds better than the very latest BMW. So go on, start it up, make sure we're in sport mode. There, you heard the valve open. Oh, yes, that's what I'm talking about. A fruity 6-cylinder engine, but the question is, does it sound so good on the inside? Let's have a little go. Oh yeah, and no soft limiters here, revs all the way up to 6,500 RPM. I'll just turn that off. But while I'm here, look, you've got BMW's older digital driver's display and infotainment system, and to tell you the truth, I prefer them than the very modern stuff. Reason being that it's just simpler to just go through the different menus. I just find it easier to use than the very latest BMW iDrive system, though obviously in the latest car, the 1 Series, doesn't even have the iDrive controller, whereas we have it here, which is handy. Another thing I like is climate control buttons. Look here, physical ones. And yes, this dash design doesn't look quite as modern as the one in the 1 Series. I actually think it's smarter. Now, quality levels are, yeah, they're better than in the 1 Series, but the biggest difference is lower down, where these lower plastics, they all feel expensive in this, whereas that was where the 1 Series felt a bit cheap. And the indicators, whereas these, much less clicky sounding. To be fair though, it's a BMW, so you're not going to use these anyway. But if you do, they feel nicer than in the 1 Series by some margin. One thing I should point about this car is the steering wheel is taken from an M car because it's got Alcantara on it and the M shortcut buttons, but they work, they're wired in. Bizarre. I quite like it. I like Alcantara, but if you're interested in this car, actually, we borrowed it from Paragon Cars London. If you want an M340 with an M steering wheel, check those guys out. There is a slight problem. So generally, in terms of wear and tear, you wouldn't know this was a used car. Really, really good quality on the inside. But if you look here at the piano black plastic, it's quite scratched. I've always said that in my reviews. This material is very easy to scratch, and here is the evidence for you. Anyway, let's check out what it's like in the back. as you can see, there's plenty of room. Decent knee room, headroom, yeah, noticeably better than in the 1 Series. Downside is that you can't spec the car exactly as you want it because it's a used vehicle, so you have to shop around for the exterior or interior colours that suit you. I like this cream, I'll be going for this for sure. Jack over there prefers the orange, there's Jack. Orange, red. Lewis, what do you prefer?
Red.
Red. They're going to find it hard to find a used version with a red interior because not many people spec those. That's the issue when you're buying used, but you do get more car for your money and more boot space. So here we have 480 litres of space. You can fit loads more stuff in there than you can the 1 Series, though obviously it's not as practical with this saloon boot opening, though of course you can get a touring version with the estate body. So I love the look of those, but some people might want a car that looks a bit sportier than either that or this saloon. So how's about this then? So admittedly, we're a bit down on boot space, 440 litres, but do you know what you're getting here? A coupe, which looks sporty. And this is seriously sporty, this car, as evidenced by these exhaust pipes. They're actually aftermarket exhaust pipes, but this is the key thing here. M4CS. So this car is from 2018, it's done 38,000 miles, it's up for £42,000, so the exact same price as that 1 Series with all the options, and it's a proper full fat M car. Yeah, it's got all the M car trinkets, like, oh, lovely alloy wheels. We've got carbon ceramic brakes, obviously a coupe, no rear door, so less practical. We'll find out what it's like on the inside, but you've got carbon fibre add-ons, extra M bits and pieces about the place, carbon fibre bits at the front. They're an aftermarket add-on, as are these bits around the grille. So they're not standard on the normal M4CS. This bonnet is though, and it's unique to the normal M4 with this kind of cool vent in it. Anyway, let's see what this car's like on the inside. Oh my God, this car feels so special. So all the CS loveliness, such as this Alcantara bit on the dash, Alcantara here, carbon fibre bits here, carbon fibre door cards, and look, the door pulls with the M tricolor. There are no door bins though. So it's not the most practical, but I can forgive it because it just feels so lovely. Love this Alcantara steering wheel, and this is the official one for this car. It's quite interesting looking at the old dials, the analog dials. I prefer them. Then there's the infotainment system. So it's the generation before the one in the 340i. I think I prefer it than the very latest cars, but not over the one in the M340i, because that had Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This I don't think has either. Definitely not Android Auto. Also, some of this feels a bit old-fashioned, but in terms of quality and like how it looks, it's worn well. Doesn't feel like a used car. Quite impressed. There is a problem with this car though, and it's all down to that coupe shape. It's the back seats. I mean, here in the front, it's lovely, these buckets. Absolutely incredible. Alcantara, leather, body hugging. They feel so nice, but they're not so nice for the people behind. Right, let's do it. So first of all, you have lost practicality. Just right from the get-go, just getting in and out. Oh, shut up, I hate the way it does that. It's such a BMW noise. There we go. Let me get this out your way. So, bit of a faff getting past these seats, but actually because they're quite thin, knee room is all right. You can actually move them a bit like this, look. Well, I thought you could, doesn't seem to work. Oh no, it's for... Why is this not working? I shouldn't have shut the door, should I? Oh, there we go. Idiot. Oh, it's so that you can't do it when the driver's sat there and annoy them when they're driving them, squish them right up to the steering wheel. Anyway, being a coupe, headroom's tighter, knee room's tighter than the M340i. Other than that, it would be comfortable, but these buckets are slammed quite low, so you can't quite get your feet under them as much as you'd like. Even though it is a larger car than the 1 Series, it is less practical in the back seats, especially as there's no door bins or anything like that. But I do love the way the carbon fibre just all extends this way. I don't love the BMW's constant chiming though. It's a familiar noise, that. Oh, in case you're wondering who enters this car, it's these guys here. But before I find out just how special this car feels to drive, I need to do something first. Now, one of the problems with this car, which is also one of the benefits and what you're paying for, is that it comes on Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tyres, which are great when they're hot, but for like daily driving, when you're first driving off in the car as well, they provide no grip at all, especially if it's wet. So I'm going to do a 0 to 60 test on this car, but I have to warm up the tyres a little bit first. So I mean, this has got all the track stuff on it, like limited slip diff. It's just absolutely mega. It should be warm now. Oh, this feels like a wild ride. Now, one of the scary things about this is that you have to launch it without traction on, and it can get a little bit sketch. Like with the M340i, we have a 3 litre straight six, only this one's got twin turbos and it's a proper BMW M engine, so it has a special S designation to its engine number. It puts out 460 horsepower in this particular CS version and 600 newton meters of torque, and it drives all, no it doesn't, does it? Just rear wheel drive only. And we've got a 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox, which is quite brutal on the launch. It's supposed to do 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds, which is quicker than that M340i is supposed to do it in. But remember, I did 4 seconds in that car. I don't think I'm going to do 4 seconds in this in reality, unless it absolutely hooks up, which it probably won't. Launch control is active, here we go, wish me luck. Oh, it hooked. That hooked pretty well. I don't think it's going to hook much better. And we did a 4.14, which was slower than the M340i. Interesting. More power, but less traction. I'll give it one more go. Tell you the truth, I thought it was just going to like give me a big smoky one, but it didn't. Let's see if it'll launch again. No, it's a BMW. An old BMW with a dual clutch. You can launch it once, then you have to drive them for about 5 days before they'll let you launch again. 5 days is a lie, it's usually about 5 minutes. Right, hopefully that's done it. Let's give it another go. Reset the timer. Please launch. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Not sure that was quicker. Oh, it was! 4.07. I'm not sure it's going to do better than that. So let's call it a draw between this and the M340i. But will it be a draw for normal driving? Can you do normal driving in this? Let's calm down. Traction on. Let's go into just auto mode, because this is what it's going to be like when you're dailying. Right, let's come out of sport for the engine, into efficient. The gearbox is actually pretty good in auto mode. It's not quite as smooth, I don't think, as the one in the M340i, because that is a torque converter, a traditional automatic. This is a dual clutcher, so it's got more of a racy element to it, but it's still good. Actually, I realised why it wasn't so smooth. I still had the gearbox in aggressive mode. I'm just going to turn it down into smooth mode. It's good in auto, and it's better in manual than the M340i. Even though that's good, this dual clutcher is just like bang, bang, so sporty. So sporty, in fact, I'm just going to get back into using it. Because M4CS, of course you're going to, let's get our blooming efficient mode. Let's go for Sport Plus again for the engine. Right, I'm going to keep traction control on though. But oh my gosh, now this is going. This feels noticeably quicker than the M340i once you're not traction limited. Whoa, what a thing. The front end feels sharper and the engine's madder and the noise is crazier. This car feels lighter. It's rawer though, noisier in terms of road noise, wind noise. I can't really hear the wind because there's so much like engine exhaust and road noise. But you know what? I'm actually getting around here slower than I did in the M340. I really am. On track, I'll be quicker in this, but on a road that's slippery and I'm not sure what's coming the other way, I'm not as fast in this, I'm just not. It feels wilder, it's more of an experience, but I think for my passengers, it'd be more of an experience in a negative way. I mean, it's a bit damp, so I'm being careful, but I can just sense that this car is more likely to bite me. Actually, no, I'm going to spend a bit more time in it. Oh, I really like it. Oh, yes. This is so good. Oh, it's so involving. Do you know what? If it was my money, this is probably where it would go. But if it's my family's money, it's a bit of a harder sell. I'll tell you what's more family friendly. This X4 M40i. It's a practical SUV, but with the added benefit of being coupe-like. It looks all right, but to tell you the truth, if you go for an SUV, you may as well do it properly. Go for the more boxy standard X3. It's just more practical. First of all, oh my God, who spec'd this interior? Dracula? I mean, look at it. That's the trouble with going used. You have to shop around to get the interior that you want. And back to the practicality. Look, you see, headroom. It's not really any better than in that M4, but knee room and foot space is because the SUV body. In the front, this X4's interior has aged pretty nicely. It's very similar to the M340i in some ways. So the iDrive system is intuitive and you still have physical heating controls. Ignore the rather loud red seats for a moment because all the materials in here still feel posh and reassuring reassuringly solid after 5 years. It's not as special as an M4 CS, but it's still a very nice place to sit, and the X4's boot is much bigger than in that car too. Despite the sloping roofline, you've still got 525 litres of space, which is more than any car so far. I'm quite liking the X4, but there is a problem. The only thing is that I really hate these digital dials in the way they have this plastic element around them to make them look like analog dials. BMW didn't do that for long because it just was ridiculous. What's not ridiculous though is the performance. Let's check out 0 to 60 on this big bad boy. Blimey, it almost took off. 4.5. Interestingly, slightly slower than the 340i because obviously heavier. That's what happens when you've got an SUV body, they're just heavier. For general driving around town and on the motorway, I do like being in an SUV with that raised driving position. I think kids prefer it as well because they get a better look out because they're sitting up higher. But the trade-off is that while I've got this car's adaptive suspension and its comfort setting, it just feels more bouncy than in the 340i. It's really not that much better than the M4 CS either. That's because if you've got a taller body, your centre of gravity is raised up, and then the car needs some extra support to stop it leaning so much in the bend, so you have to have stiffer suspension. So taller vehicles aren't quite as comfortable. This also has more wind noise than the other cars that I've driven so far because, once again, taller body, less aerodynamic, blah, 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 blah. So that is a trade-off. For a tall vehicle though, it's generally pretty nice to drive, and when you've got it in sports mode, it's all right. But once again, the added weight and the high centre of gravity go against it, and it's just nowhere near as fun as any of the other cars that I've driven so far. Even though it's got this straight 6 engine, I'm preferring the 1 Series with its 3-cylinder 1.5 just because it's low to the ground and just handles better. Lower, lighter, more nimble and agile. But I know which one my missus would prefer, but she would be wrong. And I think that all of our car buying decisions should be made by myself unilaterally. That should be absolutely fine. Yeah, SUVs just aren't as much fun. They're just not. Whoa. I mean, it does move around a little bit, but you just can't predict what it's going to do quite so well, and you can't. Oh, you can't trust it quite so much not to just stop pushing wide. Oh, come on! But let's be honest, most people aren't going to be hooning around in an X4, even if they go for the 40i model. You see, if you're after an SUV, you're more focused on comfort and luxury. And with that in mind, there is actually a better BMW you can have for the same money as a new 1 Series. Do you know what? I think if you're going to go SUV, you should do it properly and go with the X5. Yeah, you might have to go a little bit more expensive or a little bit older, but I think you'll find it worthwhile. This car just looks right. This particular car is an X5 40i from 2019. It's currently for sale for just under £46,000, so just a few £1,000s more than the 1 Series. But based on the way the car looks, everyone is going to think you spend a whole lot more. Whether you're going to a meeting with some executives, whether you're dropping your kids off at the school, it just looks right. While the design seems to have aged pretty well, the materials less so. I'm talking in particular about the leather. I don't know what it is with this leather. It's kind of shiny. I don't know whether the previous owners treated it with something. But I'm like sliding about in the seat. It just doesn't all feel that good. Neither does the leather on the steering wheel. Shame, because otherwise everything is tip top. Okay, so it was definitely leather treatment, wasn't it? Because look, here in the back they haven't done it, and this is much better. I also like this. This one comes with the blinds, which is handy for if you've got a young child like I have and they like to go to sleep in the car. This is the thing when you're buying used, isn't it? You know, you're never quite sure what you're going to get, so you really have to check the car out. But you know, you pay your money and you take your choice. And in terms of room in the back, oh, this is pretty much unbeatable. And I'm loving this roof. I think if I was looking for one of these, I'd definitely want this roof. I've just noticed, look here on the trim, some of this lacquer has come off. I'd definitely be wanting that fixed if I was buying it from a dealer, or at least some money knocked off the price. I'd like to introduce you to one of the X5's key features. Don't get this on the X4. Split folding tailgate. Oh yeah. And because we've got air suspension, I can press this other button to lower the car down on its air suspension to make it easier to load. Can you hear it? Yeah, it's going back up again. And it's going back down again. There we go, it just makes it easier to load. If you fill the X5's boot to the brim, you'll be able to carry 650 litres of luggage, which is easily more than any other car I've looked at so far. But is this practical family SUV just a good load lugger, or does it feel like a proper BMW to drive to? So this X5 has the same 3-litre straight six as in the X4 and the M340i. However, it's only got 340 horsepower because it's not an M badge car. It's also got 450 Newton meters of torque, so I'm going to launch it now. I don't think it's going to be as quick because of that and the fact that it's a bit heavier being the big boy X5, but let's go for it anyway. Got launch control. That hooked up really well. But the weight and the reduction in power has gone against it, but still 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds is pretty darn good, isn't it? If you're going for an X5, you're probably better off going with a diesel rather than this 40i petrol. You see, it's supposed to return just under 27 mpg, which isn't great, is it? Whereas if you go for one of the diesels like the 30D, that can return almost 10 mpg more, which could make all the difference. Now I'll actually show you this particular X5's running costs in a bit, and spoiler alert, it's a lot worse than the 1 Series, but there is one area where the X5 just absolutely trounces the little hatchback. One of the things I like about this X5 is that it's got air suspension. I love air suspension in an SUV. It just makes you feel all soft and floaty. Yeah, I can stiffen it up to put it into sports mode and try and chuck this thing at some bends, but it's largely pointless. It's big, tall, can feel a bit unwieldy. Compared to other SUVs of this size, it's fine handling, but when compared to all the other cars I've driven so far, it's definitely the most lead-footed. Up, 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 up. But this is not how you drive a car like this. You just go, no, no, no. Comfort is what this is about. Let's just chill and enjoy the fact that it feels luxurious, the fact that it's quiet, the fact that it feels expensive, the great view out. Gotta say, one thing you won't get with a diesel is the wonderful noise of this straight six. It sounds so good. What's not so great though is the smell in this car. There's something slightly funky about it. Apparently, the person that bought into the dealer as a trade-in had 2 young children, and I think they might have had a few code browns in it. Maybe a brand new 1 Series is probably a better idea. You never know what you're going to get when you buy news, do you? But you pay your money, you take your choice. And also, there's plenty more fish in the sea. You just got to shop around. Oh, it smells of shit. It really does. Oh, get me out of it, I feel sick. There should be no reason to feel ill in the next car though. That's because it's a BMW 5 Series Touring that's basically brand new. It's a 2024 car with 8,000 miles on the clock, and it's available for just over £39,000. I can't believe this. This is where depreciation can be your friend. It's nuts when you think about this is actually less expensive than that 1 Series with all its options. And the thing I like about it, because it's the previous generation 5 Series, it actually looks better in my eyes than the current version. Plus, you can get it with a diesel engine. You can't get the new one with a diesel engine. They won't allow you to have a diesel engine in a blooming 5 Series. What is going wrong with the world? This seems like the no-brainer now. First of all, I want to say thanks to Barrett's Motor Group for lending us this car. And one of the key things I like about the 5 Series, a bit like the X5, it's got a quirky tailgate. Not only can you open it like that, and you have the load cover that moves up automatically, but this bit is really useful. If you can't be bothered opening the boot that way, or you're opening it in a tight space and you just want to load some shopping, oh yeah. And the 5 Series Touring has an absolutely massive boot. It measures 560 litres, but does this practicality extend to the back seats? Now there's plenty of room back here, but it isn't as big as the X5. It just doesn't feel quite as spacious. The view out isn't so good. Also, there's a little less foot room because the seats are lower, but still, I mean, yeah, it's perfectly comfortable and way more roomy than a 1 Series. Admittedly, this car doesn't have some of the tech that the 1 Series has. That's mad when you think about it. But I actually prefer the older infotainment system, and while I'd like a panoramic glass roof, I don't really mind so much because I'm just in a bigger, more luxurious car and everything just feels expensive. Plus, it's worn really well. It's an 8,000 miles this car, but there's not a single scratch on this piano black trim here. Decisions. This car's 2-litre 4-cylinder diesel puts out 190 horsepower, 400 Newton meters of torque, drives the rear wheels via an 8-speed automatic gearbox. Do we have launch control? Let's find out. I'm in sport handling mode, left foot on the brake, floor the throttle. Let's see what the 0 to 60 time is. Well, it didn't say launch control, but it brake boosted and it did all right. What's the time? 6.7 seconds. Quicker than the 1 Series. 1 Series has less power, but it is lighter. It goes to show you diesels aren't slow, are they? It's mad that they dropped this engine from the 5 Series range. It's almost like they don't want people to buy too many 5 Series with an internal combustion engine, because if they do that, then they won't meet their EV to ICE ratio targets and then get fined by the EU. Not gonna lie, a diesel engine doesn't sound anywhere near as good as a petrol engine, and when you're like stationary and it's like ticking over, you can feel the vibration, so it's not as refined or as luxurious feeling. But you can't fault it for in-gear punch, and that suits this kind of car. It really does. I'll tell you what suits this kind of car: adaptive suspension. Fortunately, this one hasn't got it, and that's what happens when you get a more affordable 5 Series. But it's not terrible. It's more comfortable than the 1 Series, but the cars with adaptive suspension do just feel a little bit better over the bumps. In terms of the handling, it's all very predictable, relaxing, better handling than the SUVs because obviously you've got a lower centre of gravity, but the diesel engine just lacks the spark. I do think that the 1 Series is a little bit more playful and fun though to drive, even though that is front wheel drive and this is rear wheel drive. But in terms of quietness, yeah, this 5 Series is better than the 1 Series. But then it should be, shouldn't it? But as a daily, and especially for commuting, this is going to be nicer to spend time in. Just is. But if you think that 5 Series Touring is a steal, check this out. It's a 7 Series from 2022 with just 15,000 miles on the clock, and it's basically £41,000. I can't believe this is even possible. I can even forgive it of this grille. Well, I feel sorry for the 1 Series. Look at this as well. Ooh, and oh, luxury soft close. This isn't the only car that has that. The X5 had it as well. Oh yeah, this definitely feels the most luxurious. You can tell the 7 Series is at the top of the range. Just the leather, the comfort in the seats. In terms of tech though, it actually hasn't really got any more than the 1 Series. In fact, it's got less. I don't have a heads-up display. Okay, so there's plenty of room back here. This is not the long wheelbase version, which they use for chauffeuring, but still, don't need any more knee room nor headroom. And these seats, just like in the front, very, very comfortable. And looky here, so these are the controls to move the back seat, so I can move the backrest. Let's go maximum recline. Oh, this is the most comfortable in the back, even though the X5 feels the most airy and spacious, just because of this seat. This is the one I'd like to do the most miles in the back of. Plus, look, I've got a little pillow for my head, though I am aware that someone else's head has been there before me because this isn't a new car. I guess the only problem is that you can't fold the back seats down to carry really long items like you can in all the other cars. But the 7 Series still has 515 litres of space, which is just 10 litres less than in the X4. But practicality isn't the reason you should consider a used 7 Series, and neither is straight line acceleration. But you know what? I'm going to time it from 0 to 60 miles an hour anyway. So we've got a 3 litre straight 6 diesel with 286 horsepower and 650 newton meters of torque. Got an 8-speed automatic gearbox. This car shouldn't do launch control, but lo and behold, it does. Here we go. Oh, traction issues. God, it feels quick. 5.18 to 60, and it's reasonably economical. I'll reveal exactly how economical it is in a bit. But before then, let's see what it's like to just cruise around in. Straight away, this is just on another level to everything else to drive. The air suspension is just so soft. And because it's a lower vehicle than the X5, it just rides so much better than that car. I've got it in this adaptive mode, so it just changes the settings of everything depending on how you want the car to drive. And if you want to go quickly, it can do that too. It's diesel engine's got plenty of punch. This 6-cylinder is much better than the 4-cylinder in the 5 Series. It leans quite a lot in the bends, the front tyres do start to wash wide. It's not set up for it, really. But it's predictable, handles well enough, but it doesn't really encourage you to go particularly quickly. Instead, sod it, no. I'm going to drive this car in the manner that it's best suited, and it's like this. Oh. Wow. If you're playing a numbers game with BMW, then you can move up to the 8, because 8 is more than 7. This is the Grand Coupe, so it blends sporty looks with some practicality. But before we get into that, I just want to admire the design of this car, especially the front end. It's one of the best looking BMW designs of the last 5 years, although I suppose that isn't saying much. Anyway, this car is the entry-level 8 Series with a 3-litre turbocharged 6-cylinder petrol engine that produces 333 horsepower and 500 Nm of torque. It's clocked up almost 24,000 miles and it's up for sale at just under £42,000, which is a couple of £100 less than a brand new 1 Series. But how does it feel inside? Love this interior trim, really nice colour scheme. Noticeably more sporty these seats though than the 7 Series. They don't move either, they're just fixed in this position. They're probably a bit too upright. Knee room, that's okay. Headroom, that's okay. But if we're going to do distance, I'd switch back into the 7 Series. But what about if I'm going to be doing the driving? Let's see what the 0 to 60 is then. Here we go. Bit jerky. Oh, sounds quite fruity. 5.2, that was interesting. In terms of comfort levels, this is good, but after that 7 Series, it just feels a little bit overly busy. It does have a sportier edge to it, so I'm actually going to put the suspension into sport now. And, you know, the trade-off is it does handle better than the 7 Series. It feels more precise, more responsive, less roly-poly, less barge-like, more playful. Still quite a heavy car, but there's more fun to be had with this. Not as much fun as some of the other cars I've driven today, but still, it definitely has a sporty feel to it. So it blends those two worlds pretty well. Whoa, and it likes to step out too. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're buying this for family duties. Your family's going to appreciate that kind of thing though. But will I appreciate the seats in this big GT cruiser? After all, the car is only a few years old, so the cabin still feels pretty modern. It comes with one of the latest iterations of BMW's previous infotainment system, which works well and still leaves you with some handy physical buttons. And the centre console design is unlike any other BMW, so it feels sportier than in the 7 Series. Do you know what? I like the look of the more sporty vibe than the 7 Series, but I prefer the seats once again in the 7 Series. They're just a bit more comfy than these more body hugging ones here in the 8. I also prefer the boot you get in the 7 Series too, because this 8 Series only has 440 litres of space. Still, it's not exactly cramped, especially compared with the 1 Series 300 litre load bay. But how will my last car compare? Just look at this. This is something special. This is a BMW i8. It's a roadster from 2018 with just over 21,000 miles on the clock, and it's up for sale at just under £58,000, which, yeah, I know is considerably more than the 1 Series. However, you can buy second-hand i8 coupes with slightly higher mileage for the same price as the new 1 Series. And that's pretty incredible when you consider that this car was BMW's high-end flagship. It's a mid-engined hybrid sports car with a carbon fibre chassis. Can't say any of that about the 1 Series. But how well has the interior of this i8 aged? After all, it's one of the oldest cars here. Without doubt, this is the car that feels the most special to sit in, especially because of these crazy, crazy doors. It doesn't feel like it's aged. It feels the most modern inside in terms of the visuals. It's worn really, really well. It's mad to think that you could have one of these or a new 1 Series. Sure, the i8's infotainment is starting to feel pretty old, and the graphics aren't anywhere near as sharp as the ones you get in the new 1 Series. A lot of interior trim in the i8 is made from eco-friendly materials, so it doesn't feel quite as posh as the 7 Series. However, it still leaps and bounds ahead of the new 1 Series. And the i8 isn't as impractical as the shape might suggest, because coupe versions came with 2 extra seats in the back, although these are only big enough for kids. There isn't a great deal of storage, however. The Roadster can only muster 188 litres of luggage space. And it's not like there's a huge engine taking up loads of space, because the i8 only has a 1.5 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine from a Mini. This produces 231 horsepower and 320 Nm of torque, so it's a good thing you also get an electric motor to boost total power to 374 horsepower and 570 Nm. So what sort of performance does the car deliver? Ryan, let's do 0 to 60. Ooh, sounds good, but how quick is it? It's alright. Looks like a supercar, doesn't quite go like one. Do you know what? When you're driving, it feels quicker than when you're launching it because of the punch from the electric motor and the hybrid system. And because it's low to the ground and set up sporty, it handles really well. Doesn't feel quite as like as the M4 CS, but it is good. And I think it's easily quick enough for the road. It's a lot of fun. Then of course what I can do is go into comfort mode, press the E-drive button. Now I'm driving on electric power alone. and it's silent. It's got a dual personality, this car. In terms of comfort levels though, and like cruising ability, it can't match things like the 7 Series. The suspension's a bit on the firm side, but it really does feel like a truly special vehicle. And I've got a feeling that it's going to hold its value, and these kind of things could even go up over time. Yeah, there's no practicality, there's no back seats, anything like that. While I may love it, I don't think you're cross-shopping this with the 1 Series. Some of the other ones, yeah, this, not so much. It's more just a point of what you could have for the same money, and I'm blown away that you can get an i8 for the same money as a brand new version of the baby of the BMW range. Whenever you're buying a car, you need to consider the costs. So there's 2 elements to that. First of all, there's the running costs. So what we've done is worked out exactly how much each of these cars will cost you to run over a 3-year period based on 8,000 miles a year. And we've taken into account fuel costs, insurance, maintenance, tyre wear, and warranty. So the 1 Series comes with a 3-year warranty. So for every other car, we've added in the cost of BMW approved used car warranty to take them up to 3 years. When you look at all those costs, this is how the cars rank. Pause the video if you want to just go through the table. Now, when you're buying a car, there's not only running costs you have to think about, you have to think about depreciation. So that's the difference between the price you pay for the car new and what you'll get for it when you sell it. And that matters a lot because that is one of the big costs of ownership. So what I've done now is created a table which ranks the cars in terms of their cost of depreciation. Finally then, what we need to do is combine the running costs with the depreciation to get a total overall cost of having one of these cars for 3 years. And this is the final table. As you can see, it is the 1 Series that works out the cheapest to own. So it's £20,000 in terms of all ownership costs over 3 years. Interestingly though, the M340i is just £2,000 more over 3 years to own. So you could have that M340i for just under £700 a year more than it'll cost you to have the 1 Series. And based on how they compare inside, outside and to drive, I think the M340i is a clear winner. Anyway, I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you did, give it a like. Let me know what you think of my verdict in the comments below. Which car would you go for? Also, if you want to watch some other videos, click on the windows. And if you click on the CarWow logo, you can go to CarWow to see how much you can save on your next car. Thanks for watching.